Good afternoon and welcome to the live proceedings of the National Assembly on this July 25th. The year is 2023, an afternoon sitting of the National Assembly wherein the House is resuming from a short recess that was a 2 weeks break taken by members of the National Assembly to deliberate on other issues at the constituency level. And when the House is resuming from that particular short recess, as a lot is lined up for the deliberation by members of the National Assembly this afternoon. It is a full entry order paper this afternoon with a couple of bills set to be tabled for the first time and motions for consideration by members of the National Assembly. And to just take you through the highlights in the order of business this afternoon is that the House will be considering the Consolidated Fund Service expenditures under the financial year 2023-2024 budget estimates. This is a motion by the Chairperson Public Debt and Privatization Committee before the House this afternoon. And this particular committee on matters public debt and privatization seeks to have the House adopt the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the Consolidated Fund Services expenditures under the financial year 2023-2024 budget estimates. This particular committee also laid its report on the table of the House on the 21st of June 2023. The debate on this particular motion has been concluded, and what remains is for the question to be put. We have two bills that will be read for the first time before the floor this afternoon. The very first bill given priority in the order paper this afternoon is the Insurance Amendment Bill. This is National Assembly Bills number 18 of the year 2023. This particular bill by the leader of the majority party seeks to enhance the accountability within the insurance companies, as well as observe the fiduciary duties, as well as the professional responsibilities by senior managers of insurance companies by amending the Insurance Act Cap 487 to provide for the offences as well as penalties relating to the management of the insurance companies. These particular amendments will ensure that the insurance companies take responsibilities in case an insurance company fails. This is also a bill, the Insurance Amendment Bill number 23, number 18 of the year 2023 is a bill before the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury as part of the proposals for the budget of 2023-2024. The other bill set for the first reading is the Vocational Training Bill. This is a bill from the Senate, Bill number 3 of the year 2022 by the Chairperson Departmental Committee on Matters Education. This particular bill is an act of Parliament to provide for the framework of the establishment of systems for the administration of training in vocational as well as education and training within a county for the connected purposes. The House this afternoon is also set to consider a motion by the Chairperson Committee on Delegated Legislation. This particular motion is on the consideration of the value-added tax on matters electronic, internet, and digital marketplace supply, and these are regulations for the year 2023. In this particular motion, the Chairperson Delegated Legislation seeks to have the House adopt the report of the committee on its consideration of the value-added tax regulations of 2023 laid on the table of the House on the 5th of July, the year is 2023, and also pursuant to the provisions of Section 67 of the Value-Added Tax of 2013, approves the Value-Added Tax regulations of 2023 as published under legal notice number 29 of the year 2023. Also lined up for debate this afternoon is the Food and Safety Control Coordination Bill. This is National Assembly Bills number 21 of the year 2023. The National Ratings Bill, National Assembly Bills number 15 of the year 2022, is also another bill at the second stage, and we expect members of the National Assembly to make their contributions in regards to the proposals in this particular bill. The House this afternoon is also set to consider the statute laws amendment bills number 60 of the year 2022. This particular bill, the statute laws amendment bill, miscellaneous amendment bills, is a bill by the leader of the majority party. If you're just joining us, the business of the National Assembly is just about to commence. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Wetangula, is presiding over the business of the House this afternoon at a time where the National Assembly is resuming its business after a short recess. Allow me to hand over for the live broadcast of these particular proceedings.
Twakusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Twakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao wamezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Are those able to form quorum? Or Sergeant, you may ring the division bell.
Sasa mlikuwa mmetoa power.
The Speaker of the National Assembly, currently presiding over the business of the National Assembly this afternoon, has directed that the quorum bell be rung for a few minutes to give leeway to members of the National Assembly yet to make their way into the chamber this afternoon to allow the House raise quorum. According to the signals from the Sergeant at Arms, it appears to be all systems go. The quorum has been achieved.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader. Naomi, are you the one? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 25th July, 2023. Number 1, draft of Veterinary Surgeons and Veterinary Paraprofessionals Act. Veterinary Memorandum from the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Number 2, reports of the Auditor General and financial statement of Kenya universities and colleges, Central Placement Service Staff Mortgage and Car Loan Scheme for the year ending 30th June 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and the certificates therein.
Number 3, reports of the Auditor General and financial statement of Laikipia East Technical and Vocational Training College for the years ending 30th June 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, and the certificates therein. Number 4, observation reports for the 2022 general elections in Kenya from Elections Observation Group. Number 5, annual reports and financial statement of Pwani University for the year ended 30th June 2022 from Pwani University. Number 6, reports of Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institution for the year ended 30th June 2022 and certificates therein. A, Kianja Technical and Vocational Training Center. B, Katito Technical and Vocational Center. C, Achego Vocational Training Center. D, Chemasiri Technical and Vocational College. E, Ndia Technical and Vocational College. F, Tetu Technical and Vocational College. G, Ngong Technical and Vocational College. H, Gatanga Technical and Vocational College. I, Chanzewe Technical and Vocational College. J, Narok South Technical and Vocational College. G, Gatundu South Technical and Vocational College. I, Madhioya Technical and Vocational College. M, Bunyala Technical and Vocational College. N, Ugunja Technical and Vocational College. O, Nyakach Technical and Vocational College. P, Bureti Technical Training Institute. Q, Bumbe Technical Training Institute. R, Matili Technical Training Institute. S, Sekuru Technical Training Institute. T, Sotik Technical Training Institute. U, Wote Technical Training Institute. V, Masai Technical Training Institute. W, Konoin Technical Training Institute. X, Michuki Technical Training Institute. Y, Kenya Urban Roads Authority. And Z, Higher Educational Loans Board. Mr. Speaker, I lay. Thank you.
Honorable Wako, Chairperson, Committee on Delegated Legislation. Chepkonga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 25th July 2023. Report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the exercise duty, exercisable goods management system amendment regulations 2023, legal notice number 30 of 2023. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Which one? Okay. Honorable members, the first paper to be laid, the draft Veterinary Surgeons and Veterinary Paraprofessionals Act paper will be referred to Delegated Legislation Committee for consideration.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Honorable Umulkhair Harun. Umulkhair? That is not Umulkhair? Yeah? No, the member sitting behind Professor Barto. Isn't she called Umulkhair? Or she's not the one? Okay, the nominated Umulkhair. Okay, the member is not here. We'll stay her motion to tomorrow. Chairperson, Committee on Delegated Legislation.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the exercise duty exercise of goods management system amendment regulations 2023 laid on the table of the House on Tuesday 25th July 2023 and pursuant to the provisions of Section 18 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013 annuls the exercise duty exercisable goods management system amendment regulations published as legal notice number 30 of 2023. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Chepkonga. Next order. Before that, honorable members, allow me to acknowledge in the public gallery Moi Forces Academy from Kamkunji, Nairobi, students, I believe. Gadera Primary School from Maragua, Murang'a. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Next order.
Order number 8, motion, consideration of the consolidated fund service expenditures under the financial year 2023-2024 budget estimates. Question to be put.
Order, honorable members. The motion at order number 8 was debated and closed. We now put the question. Order, honorable Haika. Take the nearest seat. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Public Debt and Privatization Committee on its consideration of the Consolidated Fund service expenditures under the financial year 2023-2024 budget estimates laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 21st June 2023. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the Insurance Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 18 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Insurance Act.
Next.
Order number 10, the Vocational Training Bill, Senate Bill number 3 of 2022, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide a framework for establishment of systems for the administration of training in vocational education and training within a county and for connected purposes. Order number 11, motion, consideration of a value-added tax, electronic, internet, and digital marketplace supply regulations 2023.
Honorable members, before the Honorable Chepkonga moves the motion, in the House Business Committee today, we noted that there is a backlog of private members' business. Lots of motions and bills numbering in the hundreds are queuing for processing through the House. Consequent upon that, it was agreed that tomorrow, Wednesday, after question time, we will slot some 2 to 3 hours to continue with members' private business. Those of you with motions and bills, if they will be on the order paper, be available in the House to prosecute your business. We are also considering, subject to your convenience, that if we continue that, having that backlog, and I believe many of you bring motions and bills because you want them to be processed, and debated and passed or rejected, as the case may be, we may consider introducing a Thursday morning private member sitting so that we can reduce the backlog of business that is piling. So let's play by the ear and the eye and see how tomorrow goes. From next week, we might call upon you to do extra time. We may even require, subject to your convenience, to extend sitting hours by an extra 2 hours to reduce this backlog. So all members with private business that is queuing at the table office and in the house, be available at short notice to prosecute your business. Thank you. You may now move your motion.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the following motion: that the House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the value-added tax, electronic, internet, and digital marketplace supply regulations 2023, published as legal notice number 29 of 2023, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 5th July 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 67, subsection 1 of the Value-Added Tax Act number 35 of 2013, approves partly the Value-Added Tax, Electronic, Internet, and Digital Marketplace Supply Regulations 2023, published as legal notice number 29 of 2023, subject to the Regulation-Making Authority publishing a corrigendum to rectify the error in the provision on offenses under Regulation 14. Mr. Speaker, the main objective and the main purpose of this regulation, the value-added tax regulations, is to provide for a legal framework to enable the government implement the tax measures necessary for the financing of its economic development agenda. Mr. Speaker, as you know, most of the businesses have migrated from the real world to the digital space. And so as a consequence of that, there are too many people who are trading now in the high cloud without landing on the land. And so, Mr. Speaker, there has been serious competition between our local businessmen and businessmen from outside this country. Our own businessmen, they pay VAT on electronic business. Unfortunately, those who are doing business from other countries and using the electronic means have not been paying value-added tax, yet they have been sending their invoices to their customers in Kenya and avoiding to pay VAT. And so they have unfairly been competing with the businesses in our country. And so the end result has been, Mr. Speaker, we have had a skewed market in favor of those who are operating from outside this country. And so the increase in the use of the digital space, Mr. Speaker, has opened the Kenyan market to the outside world, allowing non-residents to supply digital presence in the country. The import of this, Mr. Speaker, is that such suppliers, as I've just said, have not been paying VAT. And this particular regulation is to correct that particular mismatch between the local market and the digital market operating outside this country. So the necessity of the amendment, Mr. Speaker, of this VAT regulation is to ensure non-resident suppliers who account for a large percentage of the digital marketplace in Kenya must register and account for VAT on supplies made in Kenya. The committee, Mr. Speaker, scrutinized the regulations in accordance with the Constitution, the Interpretation and General Provisions Act, Cap 2, the VAT Act number 35 of 2013 and the Statutory Instruments Act number 16 of 2013. The committee noted that the value-added tax regulations seeks to provide for the legal framework to enable the government to implement the tax measures for financing its economic development agenda. The regulation, Mr. Speaker, seeks to ensure that the non-residents who account for a very large part of the business in this particular sector are registered as VATEM in this country. Mr. Speaker, we considered a number of parameters with regard to these regulations. And among them, Mr. Speaker, just to mention three of them, that these regulations were published on the 14th of April 2023, and therefore they comply with the Statutory Instruments Act that requires that the regulations must be forwarded to the National Assembly within 7 days of its publication. The second thing that we considered, Mr. Speaker, is the adequacy and sufficiency of public participation and consultation by the regulatory making authority, so that they must comply with Article 10 and Article 118 of the Constitution. That, Mr. Speaker, we found that indeed they did, and they supplied the necessary supporting documents to enable us recommend to this House that these regulations therefore be approved. The third thing, Mr. Speaker, that we consider, that the regulation authority was expected to comply to ensure that all those the suppliers of this digital business in the marketplace are sufficiently and adequately consulted when levying this particular tax on these suppliers. And so, Mr. Speaker, we found that all the parameters that are required under the Statutory Instruments Act were therefore complied. It is indeed a very short regulations which contain about 5 paragraphs, Mr. Speaker. And I wish, therefore, Mr. Speaker, to beg that I move and request the Honorable Kishimu, the Vice Chair of the committee, to second this motion. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Who is seconding? Vice Chair, Honorable Kishimu. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead, Mheshimiwa.
I rise to second the motion. Mr. Speaker, the chairman has substantially covered what the committee considered in reaching the decision that is before this House. Mr. Speaker, safe to add that the committee was also satisfied that after the regulations were brought before the committee and they were published, there was no complaint from any player in the area of digital markets and internet to the regulations. And that, in that case, Mr. Speaker, the committee also looked at the public participation that was also done by the regulatory making authority, and we were satisfied that all the parameters that are supposed to be considered by the Committee of Delegated Registration were met and fully satisfied. Mr. Speaker, these regulations, I must buttress that they are supposed to capture those people that have been operating within the digital market and paying nothing in the coffers of the government through the regime of value-added tax. And these regulations now seek to net them and bring them within the ambit of the same, under the same level with those people that have not been operating within the digital space and the internet. Mr. Speaker, there might not be much to say about this because the Committee on Delegated Legislation's mandate is so limited into making sure that the regulations abide with the Constitution, the relevant statutes, and also public participation has been done, which I must confirm, as the chairman has said or has moved, that they were all adhered to. So, Mr. Speaker, without much ado, I seek to support and second the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, all the honorable members. I now propose the question, which is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the value-added tax, electronic, internet, and digital marketplace supply regulations 2023, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 5th July 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 67 of the Value-Added Tax Act 2013, approves the value-added tax, electronic, internet, and digital marketplace supply regulations 2023, published as legal notice number 29 of 2023. Before that, allow me to acknowledge the following schools in the public gallery: Don Bosco Secondary School, Manyata, Embu; Olmoran High School, Laikipia West, Laikipia; and from the Speaker's Gallery, Chesnende Girls Secondary School, Kipkelion East, Kericho. The Honorable Cherorot, the member for Kipkelion, is it East, has asked me to give him a minute to acknowledge the students. On our behalf, acknowledge all the schools. The Manyata MP is also here. So you have 2 minutes, Cherorot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this unique opportunity to welcome all the schools who have visited our gallery this afternoon. More so, Mr. Speaker, Jesinende Girls from my constituency, Kipkelion East. And I want to encourage our students, Mr. Speaker, to take that opportunity and make use of their visit to Parliament to familiarize themselves with the functions of the government. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, I want also to take this opportunity to thank you and His Excellency the Deputy President for coming to condole with us in our constituency, or in my constituency, during the grisly accident which happened at Londiani Junction. I want also to extend my gratitude to my fellow members who came also to condole with us. Mr. Speaker, I want also to thank the government for assisting, and I want also to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, also to support the motion or the approval of the digital and electronic tax, added tax, Mr. Speaker, because that will go a long way in helping our youth. Thank you so much, Mr.
Not
Speaker.
open for debate yet. Member for Manyata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity
2 minutes.
to welcome all the students and visitors in the gallery, especially, Honorable Speaker, my good friends from Don Bosco High School, Manyata constituency, and also a young school called Camview Secondary School that is in the Senate. And Honorable Speaker, I want to tell them that this is a house that is very keen to see the improvement of education and ensuring that our students get the best they can get. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that this is the same house that has passed the biggest budget in the education sector ever since this country was given independence in 1963. And this is, Honorable Speaker, so that we can see an improvement in what we are doing in the education sector, and also at the same time get our young people ready to face the world by having them equipped with the right, Honorable Speaker, skills. to face the skills. Honorable Speaker, Don Bosco High School is one of those schools that has been catering for our very needy students, especially with a lot of equipment, because it's a missionary school, Honorable Speaker. So I want to also commend the runners of that school who are missionaries, and I would really like to say that we shall ensure we continue supporting our school system and ensure that our school system get to the best that it can get, Honorable Speaker. Welcome all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All the honorable members, my screen is full. I don't know if it's full for the delegated legislation debate or it's full as usual. Okay. Bukose?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to support the amendment on regulations as brought by Honorable Chepkonga, the Chair of the Delegated Legislation, on to approve the value-added tax on electronic, internet, and digital marketplace supply regulations 2023 as published in the legal notice number 29 of 2023. Honorable Speaker, when you look at those regulations, I think it's only 5 paragraphs in which it needs to be done, and just to appreciate that, I think there must be some bit of fairness, Honorable Speaker, in terms of VAT. And I know this is when it comes to VAT, I know it brings a lot of challenges to some of the people because they realize that maybe the government needs to be supported not to be able to collect some money so that it fails and they have something to say in the next elections. But I want to tell them to hold their horses and allow the government to perform its duties, because every government has a responsibility to collect taxes, to be able to make sure that its employees are well taken care of, to make sure that services are provided to wananchi. Because, Honorable Speaker, when all of us as members of parliament demand that all the money for CDF has to be remitted to our various accounts so that we can be able to make sure that our projects are completed. Just as we have resumed from our short recess, Honorable Speaker, many of us are happy that many of our projects are continuing. But it's because the government was able to, whatever taxes they collected, they were able to remit all the money that each member required in his constituency to perform his CTF functions. So with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support these regulations.
Thank you, Honorable Wandai.
Mr. Speaker, let me just make a few comments on this motion. On this motion, and I take note of the fact that it is coming shortly after the forceful passage of the Finance Bill 2023. Mr. Speaker, in principle, trying to look for areas to get additional taxes is not a bad thing, especially these areas that have previously not been exploited, especially the electronic, internet, and digital market places. It is a good thing. And in fact, how I wish this kind of thinking should have informed the drafting of the now ill-fated finance bill. Because any government that is considerate of the plight of its people must think twice before bringing on board or before effecting additional taxes on the people. It makes much more sense trying to look for areas which are previously not taxed and then tax them, as opposed to continually adding taxes, more and more taxes on an already overburdened populace. Mr. Speaker. So this should have been the best approach, rather than going to fuel and increasing the VAT twofold, actually doubling VAT on fuel. Yet you have got other areas you could have explored, like you are attempting to do through these regulations now. So that is my point. That in future, those mandarins in this government should be more considerate of the plight of the ordinary mwananchi who is suffering under the burden of taxes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am also saddened to note, of course, even as we debate this, you know, we live in a country that is governed by the rule of law. One of the cardinal principles, indeed, values in the Constitution 2010 is that every citizen, I think at Article 3, every citizen is under an obligation to respect the Constitution and, I believe, enabling laws. So, Mr. Speaker, it is a saddening moment that this House can be sitting this afternoon, of course, to discuss, among other things, new measures to raise taxes, when the government has blatantly disobeyed express court orders, which suspended the operationalization of the Finance Act 2023. It is indeed a very sad day that we could be here sitting and talking normally, as if things are normal. What message are we sending to the people? What message are we sending to the international community? What message are we sending to possible future investors in this country? If a whole government can blatantly disregard an express court order, by now I would have expected the Honorable Kimani Chungwa, my good friend, to invite the Attorney General here to explain to the Kenyan people through their representatives in this House why the government has refused to obey an express court order which has suspended the operationalization of the Finance Act 2023. As we sit here, Mr. Speaker, Kenyans are being charged extra taxes when they buy fuel, a taxation which is outrightly unconstitutional and illegal based on the express court order. What example are you showing the world, you people in Kenya Kwanza? What example are you showing us?
Yes, Majority Leader. Give him the mic.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. I raise on a point of order, Honorable Speaker, because I know the leader of minority is a newly crowned lawyer, and I am not one. So
lawyers are never crowned.
He ought to know better than me.
Lawyers are never crowned, Majority Leader.
They are not crowned. They are admitted to the bar. Maybe it's because he's yet to be admitted to the bar, and I'm sure when he gets admitted to the bar and joins your ranks and